I've ever experienced a press conference in which we've read text messages that are so fulsome, so robust, so apparently, allegedly self-incriminating, and yet on the other hand, so touching. Right, with the suspect reaching out to his roommate, who is allegedly his boyfriend, who we understand, identified as male at birth, now identifies as female, and the terminology he used. He was trying to protect him. He kept calling him my love. My reason for doing this is to protect you.
All right, here to weigh in on all of tonight's breaking news, Fox News contributor, our media guru, Joe Concha, is with us. This was predictable for a long time. When Colbert got fired, what did I say on this show? What did you say on this show? No doubt, he had higher ratings than Kimmel. Kimmel would likely be next. I would argue Kimmel did this to himself, but of course, people want to blame conservatives for this happening. Well, can you name one prominent conservative? I've been boycotted in my career. There have been calls for my firing many times in my career. No liberal ever came to my defense, ever. My private text messages released. No liberal ever came to my defense. Putting all that aside, can you name one prominent conservative that said, I want Jimmy Kimmel fired? Because I can't.
Can't find it. Don't see it online. And quite frankly, that's because it does not exist, Sean. The bottom line is that Jimmy Kimmel is three things, and they're not good. He is patently dishonest, he is craptastically stupid, and he is profoundly unfunny. And when you're those three things, this comes down to accountability and basic accounting. Accounting in terms of, like you mentioned, Colbert was losing $40-50 million per year to produce that show that was a distant second to Greg Gutfeld. And then Kimmel is actually behind him in third place, losing probably about the same amount of money since they have more or less the same production costs. So this is basic math. Now, as far as accountability, the days are over when you can just go on national television and just make up any crap you want anytime and not think, something may happen eventually in terms of your affiliate saying, this is ridiculous. And don't tell me that, oh, well, this is comedy and get over it, guys, please. No, this wasn't comedy. This was Jimmy Kimmel talking about 31-year-old Charlie Kirk, who was executed in Utah just because he wanted to have a free exchange of ideas. And here's Kimmel's argument, by the way, Sean. So you're telling me that, oh, this was a MAGA supporter, Tyler Robinson, the shooter? Since when does a trans-loving guy who had anti-fascist on bullets, who's far left completely, who had a visceral hatred for Charlie Kirk, confess to it, how does that make him a MAGA supporter? By the way, if the plan is, if he's MAGA, to take out the biggest supporter, the biggest advocate and activist Donald Trump has in the country, how does that make any sense? So he knew he was lying when he did this, and it's finally good to see that accountability is back in style. More importantly, maybe entertainment is back in style. No one wants to watch the DNC every night on ABC and CBS. When we had Carson and Letterman, even Conan O'Brien, Leno, as you mentioned, you would have the escapism, and you would actually laugh at 11:30 at night. And now these guys are just using these platforms as this operation to push everything that's great about liberals and what's evil about Republicans. And now the chickens have come home to roost because Kimmel is gone, Colbert will be gone next year, and this is just the way things are going to go. Maybe entertainment will finally be something that we have on our television screens again late
So
night.
it makes no sense. Jay Leno was right, and that is you alienate half the audience. I don't remember Johnny Carson alienating half the country at all, ever. He was funny, and he had a massive audience. Alienate half the country. You get to the point your ratings are so low, which results in lower revenues. Whether or not people want to hear this or not, it is a business. There is a business aspect to television. If you can't afford the production costs, you can't afford to be on the air, then that show's not going to survive. It's A squared, B squared, C squared. It's that simple. And then these companies are saying, okay, now you're going after a guy that was assassinated, a husband and father of two. Sorry, it's not worth it anymore. And they're the ones that pushed him out, but they'll claim it's conservatives.
That's the thing, right? I mean, Jimmy Kimmel literally went on the air in an interview with another network and said that he wished that no Trump supporter ever watched his show again. In other words, if you're a stockholder at Disney, you're like, wait a minute, you just told half the country not to watch you again? Why would you keep a clown like that around who declares something like that? I mean, clearly, Jimmy Kimmel had become unhinged at this point. So Well, look, what more can you say here, Sean? This isn't about conservatives pushing out Jimmy Kimmel. No one forced Jimmy Kimmel to make up what he did about Charlie Kirk, and Nexstar and other affiliates like Sinclair. They're not doing this out of ideological reasons. They're doing it because they don't like losing money anymore, and he's such a PR headache that he's not worth saving. It's that simple.
You know, never once in my career, for people that have watched the show for a long time, have I ever called for a firing? Have I ever called for a boycott?
That's correct.
I've had calls for my firing, boycotts of this show. That has happened to me in the course of my career. I've never done it. And if you go back, I'm sure Bill Maher probably wouldn't remember, but the loudest voices defending him when politically incorrect got canceled on ABC were Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, and conservative voices. That was back in the day. Probably doesn't remember or care.
That was 2002. I remember that quite well. And that's the thing. You've never called for anything like that. Let the market dictate exactly what's going to happen here. And by the way, all these people that are getting fired for celebrating the murder, the execution of Charlie Kirk, I'm sorry. If you run a hospital, if you run a law firm, if you run a place where you get an education, I could go down the line, and you have an employee that is celebrating something that is that sick, I'm sorry, when you work for a company, you represent that company and that brand. And if you're going to celebrate the murder of a father of two like that, then you shouldn't be working there anymore. And employers are right to fire those people. It's not canceling. It's a matter of who do I want to work in my company and who has the integrity to get a paycheck from here. It's that simple as well.
All right, Joe Concha, always great to have you. Appreciate your analysis. The media guru. All right, up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
I don't know who feels except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe.
Another day, another insane comment from Jasmine Crockett. This time it was at Kash Patel's hearing on the Hill. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan was at the hearing. Wait till you see some of the fireworks from today. We'll get to that and more straight ahead. Stay with us. FBI Director Kash Patel, he was back on Capitol Hill today taking on Democratic lawmakers who, of course, turned the hearing into a political theater and just another opportunity to attack the Trump administration. Kash Patel put these Democrats, as he did yesterday, right in their place. Take a look at this exchange between him and Mr. Fang Fang, Eric Swalwell.
Director, considering that you have identified these people as, quote, government gangsters, will you recuse yourself from making any investigation decisions about these individuals?
Anyone that has been terminated at the FBI has been done so
the question
because they failed to meet the muster and the constitutional obligation.
I will work on the audio-visual capabilities.
I'm going to borrow your terminology and call on your entire career in Congress.
Claiming my time,
It's been a disgrace to the American people. You can reclaim your time all you want.
2 days in a row. Got to give him credit. And now, of course, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett can't make it through one hearing without bringing up race. Here's what she said today. Take a look.
And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, you know, we're happy because now we feel safe, I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacists, because I specifically as a black woman definitely don't feel safe.
And by the end of her tangent, Chairman Jim Jordan looked pretty done with her nonsense. Let's take a look at this.
Children being shot, as well as members of their community as they're worshiping in their churches.
Time of the gentlelady has expired. If the gentleman would like to respond to any of that. Well,
Congressman Jim Jordan also showing Democrats why Kash Patel, since he's been in office, is such an effective FBI director. Take a look at this.
Director, yes or no, is the FBI still spying on parents at school board meetings?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Catholics?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still spying on President Trump?
I don't believe so.
Is the FBI still censoring Americans?
No, sir.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans for shopping at Cabela's or purchasing Bibles?
Nobody is targeted for their faith.
Is the FBI still targeting Americans who are pro-life?
Nobody is targeting anyone for their beliefs.
Is the FBI still cooking the books on crime data?
The crime data is real.
Is the FBI still purging agents for conservative viewpoints?
No one at the FBI has asked their viewpoints on politics.
Is the FBI still labeling the Betsy Ross flag, the flag of the American Revolution, a hate symbol?
No.
Well, maybe that's why you've been able to, what was the number? 23,000 bad guys you've arrested, a huge increase from the same time period in the previous administration. I think you said 1,400 predators, 4,000 children rescued. Were those the facts?
4,700, 35% increase on children rescued.
Yeah.
And let's not forget Cash's exchange with the congenital liar, Adam Schiff. This was yesterday. Take a look.
I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of inmates. What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You are a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charades. You are a political buffoon at best.
Well, you can take an international...
Take it to the bank that the FBI is protecting this country and the state and citizens of the California. Because we are doing historic reform.
You've got to love that moment. While Democrats are trying to score cheap political points, Kash Patel, the FBI, they're actually investigating Charlie Kirk's assassination along with the alleged assassin's Discord chat and all the disturbing social media posts surrounding Charlie Kirk. And major breaking news tonight, President Trump just announced that he is now designating Antifa as a, quote, sick, dangerous, radical left disaster, a major terrorist organization. And he is recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated. Here now with reaction, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, our friend Jim Jordan is with us. Wow, you had a boring day.
No, Cash was great, Sean, and you played some of the highlights both from yesterday and some of the great things you did. Turns out, Sean, when you stop spying on parents, stop spying on presidents, stop spying on pro-lifers, stop spying on Catholics, and focus on getting the bad guys, you can actually get the bad guys off the streets. And that to me, was the key takeaway from today's hearing. Kash Patel, Director Patel, has the FBI back focused on taking bad guys, getting bad guys off the streets behind bars. That's a good thing for the country. We all understand that. And the politics is gone. And I think the other big takeaway, frankly, was he as much as confirmed, he can't really do this because it's an ongoing investigation, but he pretty much said that Comey, Clapper, Brennan, and the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee, now the senator from California, are under this investigation that Attorney General Bondi has started, this special strike force she is using to focus in on what they did back in December of 16, January of 17, when they started this whole charade to go after President Trump and undermine him. I think those were the two big takeaways. Relative to Antifa, Sean, you're right. These people need to be investigated. Remember what they did 5 summers ago? When they for like 100 days straight in Portland, Oregon, they laid siege to just a nonstop attack on the federal building there in Portland. Of course, the president's right. These people need to be investigated, and our committee will be looking into it.
You know, the criticism I felt was ridiculous. They were able to catch this guy out in Utah in 33 hours. You know, the Sarnoff brothers, 5 days. Eric Rudolph, 6 years. The Unabomber, 17 years. Here's what we have since Kash has been FBI director. More than 23,000 violent criminals arrested. 6,000 illegal firearms off the streets. Located more than 4,700 child victims, a 35% increase, 1,500 child predators arrested, and captured 4 of the 10 most wanted in this country. They've not really been there that long. I'd say that's a pretty impressive record.
It's amazing. It's truly impressive. Not to mention the guy they caught who was one of the people responsible for what happened at Abbey Gate. One of the guys from the 4th District. Max Subiak was from our district, was one of the people who gave his life for our country. So this is a guy who's focused on the central mission of the premier law enforcement agency, doing what you're supposed to do, not doing the politics. And also, he's also giving us the information that Chris Wray wouldn't. Just with the Catholic memo situation, Chris Wray said it was a one-off. It only happened in the one field office in Richmond, Virginia. That was not true. Kash has given us 700 documents that show it was in multiple field offices, multiple places around the country. They surveilled a priest. They spied on the church, spied on the priest. That's how bad it was. That stuff is gone. They're focusing on getting the bad guys and holding people accountable who started this whole weaponization of our intelligence community and our law enforcement.
And we've got to get to the bottom of that. We've got to restore our intelligence community back to their former greatness. I said last week before they captured this guy that assassinated Charlie Kirk, I said, I have faith. I've known Pam Bondi for over 30 years. I have faith in her, the DOJ, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino. I've known them a long time. I know that their heart was in it from day one. The criticism was fast, but so was the arrest. Jim Jordan, great job today. Thank you. And coming up, breaking tonight, 3 officers sadly killed, 2 others injured in Pennsylvania. We have a live update. And 1 week after the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, a protester brought this is a Fox News alert breaking tonight. 5 police officers were shot, 3 of them killed in a shooting in York County in Pennsylvania earlier today. Our very own Alex Hoff joins us now with the very latest. Alex, heartbreaking.
Oh, absolutely heartbreaking, Sean. And this began around 2 p.m. with officers attempting to serve a warrant in relation to a domestic incident. It was at a property in North Codorus Township. It's a somewhat rural area in York County in the south central part of the Commonwealth. Witnesses say they heard between 20 and 30 shots fired there. Police say the gunman was shot and killed by law enforcement, but not before taking the lives of 3 officers, leaving 2 still hospitalized in critical but stable condition. Right now, no names have been released. And this afternoon, Attorney General Pam Bondi confirmed that the FBI and ATF did rush to that scene to assist, adding violence against law enforcement is a scourge on our society and never acceptable. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, he expressed the same at a press conference this evening.
This is something that sadly we only tend to share in times of tragedy. I think it is important that this Commonwealth knows that every day we appreciate those who put on the uniform and those who keep us safe.
Now, Governor Shapiro reminded that earlier this year, York County suffered another line of duty death when Officer Andrew Duarte was shot and killed responding to an active shooter call. Sean.
All right, Alex, thank you for that report. Our prayers are with the families and these officers. So sad. And believe it or not, this year is an election year in the Commonwealth of Virginia and the state of New Jersey, where residents will be electing brand new governors. Both states were closer than expected in last year's presidential election. And remember, Virginia actually elected Glenn Youngkin, a Republican governor, in 2021. And by the way, on the same night, Republican Jack Ciattarelli came within 3 points of getting elected governor of New Jersey. If I had to go back in time, I would have paid a lot more attention to that race. My bad. Jack is back this year as the Republican nominee, so there is a lot of enthusiasm behind his campaign. Apparently the Democrats are extremely worried about it because left-wing protesters showed up on the campaign trail, and guess what? Their messages were as hateful as ever. One protester holding up a sign right from James Comey that said 8647, another call to assassinate our president only days after Charlie Kirk's own horrific murder. The murder, by the way, that another protester marked with this sign, quote, "This is a turning point. Sorry, Charlie, hit the road, Jack." Wow. Now, we asked the Democratic nominee, Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, to respond in a statement. She said she calls for political violence are totally unacceptable, called Charlie's assassination horrific, noted that while serving in the military, she swore to protect the First Amendment with her life. Here now with reaction is the Republican nominee for governor, New Jersey candidate Jack Ciattarelli is with us. First, your reaction to what's going on in your state.
Well, based on last night's protesters, Sean, pretty disgusting, pretty despicable, and unacceptable. And I've called on my opponent to tell her protesters to cut it out. It's not the kind of thing we want to see in New Jersey.
Okay, so as I read through her record and I go over it again and again and again, it's all Green New Deal, it's all solar, it's all wind, it's all everything that we know is too expensive, everything that we know that the economy doesn't use. The world's economy is governed by energy, and that means natural gas. That means fracking. That means coal. That means, oil. All the things that matter. And yet another Democrat, why have they not learned from all of the billions and billions spent and wasted at this point? Why do they double down on that?
Because they love pandering to the far left element of their party, which is radical when it comes to energy. And we need it desperately in New Jersey. My opponent is blaming it on the president. Last I checked, he's only been in office less than 9 months. They broke it, they own it. Sean, when they came into office 8 years ago, New Jersey was an electricity exporter. Today we're having to import it because they shut down 6 different electricity generation plants. My opponent has put forth an illegitimate, illegal plan that even the governor of our state, who's a member of her party, slapped her down on, saying he doesn't think that can work.
All right, so, and also Mamdani supporter?
She endorsed him and he returned the favor. And she seems not to care for the 400,000 New Jerseyans that have to go to New York every day to work. I do, no matter where they are. But it's another disqualifier, in my opinion, with regard to her candidacy.
Okay, let's talk about the choice before the people of New Jersey. New Jersey, like New York, like Illinois, like California, you have seen an exodus. Corporations are leaving, small businesses are leaving, and people are leaving. How do you prevent that from happening?
By lowering our business tax the way the Democratic governor of Pennsylvania is, and by simplifying our tax code and lowering our income tax rates. My goodness, our top bracket is 11%. Pennsylvania's is 3%. Florida doesn't even have an income tax. People leaving left and right, taking wealth with them. They're job creators that are leaving the state. We've got to make New Jersey a better place to do business. Got to make it a place where young people get a start. Got to make it a place where seniors can retire. My plan is very specific on how to do all that. My opponent has put forth a single specific plan on how to make New Jersey a better place to live, work, retire, and raise a family or start a business.
All right, Jack Chitterelli, we're going to watch this very closely. By the way, I see that this is just breaking as we go to break here, and that is that Sinclair broke. All right, time now for our other news of the day segment. Now, President Trump and the First Lady arrived in the UK earlier today for his second historic state visit, and he's getting the full royal treatment. The festivities kicked off with a horse-drawn carriage procession while the band played the national anthem, and the day ended with a state dinner. Here are some of the president's remarks. Take a look.
Your Majesty, Melania and I are deeply grateful to you and Queen Camilla for your extraordinary graciousness. And to William and Kate, thank you so much. It's been so great being with you today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. And if you think about it, it's a lot of presidents, and this was the second state visit, and that's the first, and maybe that's going to be the last time. I hope it is, actually. But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country.
All right, here with reaction, Fox News contributor Jason Chavis. You know, the one thing, Donald Trump, we know, wants the ballroom. I saw a lot of gold there. I'm thinking he's probably looking around the whole room thinking, all right, how can I incorporate this and this? But it was the second time he was honored by Great Britain. I thought it was a pretty special, amazing. There's something about, you know, that tradition that it really does get my attention.
It really does. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Dame Dash does or says, but he cooked Charlamagne the God in the Breakfast Club in his latest interview with him. I believe that there is what I call the niggification of society in the black community. And there's a nigg agenda, which is an agenda that some people in the black community that have a little bit of influence are using to keep everybody else distracted. And Dame Dash exposed that in his Breakfast Club interview. We're going to play a couple clips from it, and I want to let you guys get a chance to hear this and take your own opinion from it. I know Dame is exhausted. Let's just be honest. It's exhausting sometimes listening to Dame. I'm somebody that I believe that I don't agree. First of all, I don't agree with nobody 100% of the time. I don't even agree with myself 100% of the time. There's things that I said in the past, I'm like, what was I talking about? I don't agree with my mama 100% of the time. But I believe that there's wisdom in every moment, and anybody can give wisdom, and God can use anybody to give wisdom. So I don't agree with everything Dame Dash says or does, but I think he was on point in the Breakfast Club interview on a few different things. And I don't like bullies. And when I seen the Breakfast Club interview initially, I was like, my first instinct was like, they brought this man up here in order to embarrass him. And I got a lot of respect for Dame Dash going up there and not allowing them to take him out of character, too far out of character, which I guess what we seen from Dame, that was on point for Dame. He was right in character. And you know what's sad? Even using that character word, it's sad that in our community, in the black community, our people will prefer characters, entertainers, and we're so desperate for a leader that will accept anything. So I want to kind of go through some of the stuff that Dame Dash said, and I want you guys to hear it with me, and we react to it together. So before we do that, we're going to start the live stream the same way we always do, with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another day, God. I ask that you bless everybody that's listening, God. Let this not be just entertainment, but let it be educational and informative, God. And God, we want to make sure that we're not gossiping here. We want to make sure that we're saying things that only to the benefit of the people that's listening, God, that we may learn something from this. And God, I ask that you bless everybody as they go to and from, and let them get there safely with travel and mercy. In Jesus' name, amen. So let's listen to some of the stuff that Dame Dash said. I played this on yesterday's live stream, but for the people that missed yesterday's live stream, I want to play this again because I think it's important. Malcolm X was speaking once about how black people, we take entertainers, and we're the only community that takes comedians and actors and singers and makes them the leaders of our society. And I think it's a great thing to listen to for the people that missed it, because when we talk about the nigga agenda, that's what it really is. They put people in position. And this is some of what Dame was talking about as well. Certain people, he accused Charlamagne the God of being one of these people. You know, certain people are put in position and given opportunities because they know that you'll continue to distract them while we make the money and do what we want to do over here. And Malcolm X spoke to this, and I want you guys to be able to hear this and hear Malcolm X's word. Check this out.
The poll taken by Newsweek magazine, I think it said that this was the leaders who said that, who went with King and against Mr. Muhammad, around 90%. I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community, and have been made celebrities, and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear. And it's
very powerful information.
There's an honor, actually, that they endorsed Dr. Martin Luther King
after slavery.
So that's from Malcolm X himself, right? And when Dame Dash was on the Breakfast Club, he said something similar, and he questioned Charlamagne the God in the same way. So the article says Dame Dash questioned Charlamagne the God's sexuality, masculinity during heated exchange. I always feel that if you, even in scripture it says this, even in the Bible it says, like, if you're going to speak, it should be for the building up of people. And that's what separates gossip from spreading information. Like, sharing information is not gossip. It becomes gossip when this don't even build nobody up, bro. This don't help nobody. There's nothing to learn from this. Y'all just literally talking about people's lives. There's things that I won't say on a live stream or to a camera because there's no benefit in me talking about this. There's stories that come out every single day about different people and different situations. But if I can't teach you guys a business lesson, if I can't teach you something that you could take in your life, a life lesson, something that you could take in your life, why am I on my live stream talking about it? This benefits nobody. We're just talking about nonsense. So I won't do it. But certain things, there's lessons in it. And it's easier for me to come here and talk to you guys about it. And that's the difference between media personalities that spread gossip and media personalities that spread information. Most times opinion shouldn't even come into play. It should just be, this is a fact, this is truth, and you guys can learn from this, right? So, Dame Dash questions Charlamagne the God's sexuality, masculinity during the heat of the exchange. Says Dame has once again sparked controversy with his candid confrontational style, this time by openly questioning Charlamagne the God's masculinity, and even suggesting that the Breakfast Club host might secretly be gay. Dame Dash said, I don't think you're the proper representation of the masculine black man. Your OG is Wendy Williams. Said, my OG is sitting right there. And we heard this, right? Dame declared this to Charlamagne, and he drew a sharp contrast between their influences. Charlamagne replied, said, Wendy's not my OG, but that's funny though. So Dame said, can you stop interrupting me before pressing forward? He said, wasn't she your boss? Charlamagne admitted, yeah, at one point. Dame then doubled down, said, so she was your OG. She put you on, and you should give her grace. And you should always give her props out of respect. Right? And so the exchange escalated when Dame pivoted to the question of Charlamagne's masculinity. He said, we're different. I'd rather give my you-know-what whoop. I'm trying to stop cursing, y'all, by the way. I'm really trying. I'd rather get my you-know-what whoop, especially puppy. Dame said, then run. He said, but you're proud that you run. And it ain't no disrespect, but I kind of think you're gay. You just act a little gay. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people have said this about Charlamagne. Dame ain't the first one. He probably the first one to say it to Charlamagne's face, but Dame ain't the first one. People have said this about Charlamagne. I don't know it to be true or not true, but you know, a lot of people have said this about Charlamagne. Even when you watch The Breakfast Club, you always see those pride flags behind Charlamagne's head. A lot of people have said this. So it's not like Dame is just throwing this out there. And I know this bothers Charlamagne too. It seemed like it bothered him when he said it to Dame. I want to let you guys hear some of what Dame said from his own voice. And I thought he made a lot of important points. So let's start with this one. We'll get into the business one that he said after this, but I want you guys to hear this part first and hear this exchange between him and Charlamagne. Check it out.
You know what happens when you have to go someplace every day at 4 a.m? You can't go nowhere. You got to be here every day. You've been 15 years. You've missed the whole world. You don't know what you're talking about. And you're saying it confidently, and you're in an algorithm where people actually believe you. How to respond. And why you think they keep you here? They want y'all to make us dumb.
But if you worked here,
I would never work here. I would only
$20 million in debt.
What you talking about? I'm not.
Dame made a hell of a point when he said that. Why do you think they keep y'all here for 15 years? It's because they want y'all to keep us dumb. See, and Charlamagne just bypassed that part and said, well, you in debt. Listen, niggification of society, the nigga agenda. There's only a few insults that black folk do or throw at you when they want to devalue a good point. Few of them. This is the insults. You're broke. You ugly. You're a sellout. That's a big one. Broke, ugly, sellout. What's another one? Let me know in the chat. I see you guys in the chat. What's the other ones that the silly insults that black people throw out when they want to devalue a good point? Man, you broke, though. That's what Charlamagne threw out. Bro, He just said that you're only in position because you're a puppet and a distraction to our people, and you're controllable. And your response to that is, but you broke though? Hold on. And I want to be clear, there's nothing wrong with being an employee. I have employees. Nothing wrong with being an employee. But I think there is something to be said about a lack of growth. And I tell you guys, even when I'm coaching, I tell you guys all the time, your job is your first business partner. So there is no shame in being an employee. But when Dane says you've been here 15 years and you still, and I try to picture myself, my father's, what my dad just turned, my dad just turned 48. I'm 31. My parents had us young. I have an older brother too. Parents had us young. My dad turned 48. And Charlemagne and them are in that age bracket. And I try to picture my dad or myself at that age doing content or doing media a certain way. I think I love doing media. I might do media forever. But I try to picture myself in those situations. If somebody told me, if Dame Dash came on my platform and told me they keep you here because you're a distraction, that's, first of all, can't nobody keep me nowhere. That would have had to be addressed. My first instinct would not be to insult that man. My first instinct would be to, well, why do you feel that way? You think, I would have took inventory of it. But their goal on bringing Dame Dash to the platform was to embarrass him. And he played the reverse Uno card. So, you know, when you see that somebody's, you a snitch, that's another one. That's a good one. When you see somebody's instinct is you gay, that's another one. Those are insults that black people just throw. You broke, you a snitch, you gay, you a sellout, like nigga gender. When somebody make a good point and that's how you respond, I start looking at you a little like, let me hold this up to the light and see if it look funny. You know what I'm saying? Let's listen to a little more of this. I'm gonna rewind it a little bit. Let's listen to a little more of this, because I thought that was interesting.
You know what happens when you have to go someplace every day at 4 in the morning? You can't go nowhere. You got to be here every day. You've been 15 years. You've missed the whole world. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're saying it confidently. And you're in an algorithm where people actually believe you. Out of response. And why you think they keep you here? They want y'all to make us dumb.
But if you worked here,
I would never work here. I would only.
$20 million in debt.
What you talking about? I'm not in. Stop right there. Stop right there. I'm not in debt at all now. What are you talking about?
Oh, you paid it all up?
Yeah. When you have this bankruptcy 7, it's like getting hit.
Notice how Charlemagne just said, "Oh, if you had a job here, you wouldn't be in your city. You wouldn't be broke." But he never actually addressed being planted as a distraction. He never actually said, "I would never be a distraction to my people, and I would never let nobody use me for anything to be in that situation." Like, I get it. On some level, Charlemagne is trying to put the focus back on Dane, and he's here to be interviewed, and we try to put the focus. I get it, but nobody's saying that to me and I'm letting that slide. In fact, it wasn't the first time that Charlemagne was called a sellout. I should have had this queued up. Let me find this, because last time Charlemagne had a politician up there and he tried to call the politician out. Let me see. And the politician said, ain't you the person that let Joe Biden come up here and tell you ain't black?"
Yep.
Hold on, I'm gonna find this. Here it is. Larry Elder.
Larry Elder.
Listen to this. Larry Elder was talking to Charlemagne. I want you guys to hear this for yourself. Check this out.
So, have you ever heard the term nigga wake up call? No. It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those? Brother. I'm just asking. You think you've ever had? Well, I'm acutely aware, Charlemagne, that I'm a black person.
First of all, I don't believe in inviting nobody to my platform just to hurt their feelings or embarrass them. I think that's silly. And you know, the problem is that's part of the nigga agenda. Some of these media personalities, they do what social media comments want them to do. Social media comments and niggas in them, excuse my language for all my other, people outside the community watching, but talking to my people right now. The ones in those comments, they like seeing this type of stuff. They like seeing you disrespect other prominent black figures. You disrespect. I'm not saying you got to agree with everything or whatever Larry Elder say. You don't got to agree or disagree. It don't even matter. It's the fact you invited him on the platform to do that. Let me put this on the screen. Hold on. Before I want to finish that clip. So Charlemagne say he essentially trying to be funny and say like, hey, do you know that you're black, Larry Elder? Bro, just for what? You know what I'm saying? And this is something that I would want Charlemagne to just take account of. Like, bro, why do you have to do this? I know you have a character and a persona. I get all that. But I just don't see the need for it. I want to put this on screen so you guys can see who Larry Elder is. That's Larry Elder. Listen to this.
You are a black person, and when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump, it seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean? I don't tend to get upset over things like that. But what I did say...
Well, you just not talk about a nigga wake-up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney, because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, gonna put y'all back in chains. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black and let you think a certain kind of way. It seemed to me that should have been a nigga wake-up call for you, but it wasn't, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, no, for the record...
That's what you get, bro. Larry Elder cooked that man. You tried to laugh and be funny, huh? You shouldn't. You know what your wake up call is? Goofy. And Larry Elder cooked you. Just like what Dame Dash is saying. I hate bullies. I can't stand them. I used to, when I was in the hood, I used to fight them. I used to love beating up bullies in front of everybody. Because I want to show everybody he's not tough. I can't stand a bully. Never could. I couldn't. Even as a little kid, I loved beating up bullies. It was one of my favorite things to do in front of everybody. Because I want to show everybody. And anybody that knows me know. That was one of my, and I want everybody to be like, hey bro, you better shut up before we call Will. I love bullying bullies. I can't stand people that you try to bring that man. You thought Larry Elder was going to be at a loss for words when you said that. Just like you thought Dame Dash was going to be at a loss for words when you called him broke 100 times. But in reality, Dame Dash, what he's done in business, a lot of people should aspire to. A lot of people should aspire to. I'm not saying he made all the best financial decisions. I think he was arrogant. I think Dame let his arrogance get the best of him. The scripture is very clear. Pride go before the fall, a haughty spirit before destruction. That's very clear. Haughty means arrogant. I think Dame let his arrogance get the best of him on a lot of different situations. That's not my call, though. That's his path. That's his cross to carry. But if you don't like the man, why bring him to the platform? If you hate him that much, why bring him to the platform? Because it's going to do views, and we're going to get to embarrass him. Do you know that the Breakfast Club made a video the day after Dame Dash did the interview, to further clown him while he was not there? And they took callers to make fun of him, and the callers were calling in like, nah, Dame, my man, I'm proud of what Dame did for the black community and what the representation he gave us, and made us believe that we could be entrepreneurs, and made us believe that we could do it if we worked together, and made us believe that there was another option out. And you know, when dudes on the line was saying that, they was like, oh, okay. Just hilarious in the back, like, all right. Bro, you mad because nobody hating with you? See, before we get back to this clip, I want to say this. It's very important for everybody to understand. Demons need to congregate. They need to, because they're not connected to no source. They need to congregate and pull energy from each other. And they need your source of negativity. They need to bring negativity to you in hopes that you respond. This is why I believe the Bible says avoid foolish quarrel. A quarrel is an argument or a heated debate. Avoid it. Because if you don't give no energy to nothing, they have nothing to pull from. And I love the way Dame Dash carried himself on this interview, because he didn't give them nothing extra. All they could say was you broke. And we're going to get into that too in this live stream. But it's very important to understand demons need to congregate and they need each other. So this is why I tell my son, hey bro, because he was having some problems with his kids at school. He's like, Dad, they all grouping up, and this is last year when he, and I'm like, listen, man, superheroes always stand alone. A superhero fight 100 bad guys by himself. The bad guys, they need each other. They gang up to fight the one superhero. Superman go out there and fight 100 bad guys, but it's just Superman. And the bad guys always need each other. Demons always got to congregate and stick together, because they need to pull energy off of each other. You be negative and I'll be negative, and we'll get some negativity off each other and we'll laugh together. And that's the goofy stuff that we see in the nigga agenda and the niggification of society. They want you to feel like it's so many of us over here. That's what the nigga agenda is. They want you to feel like it's so many of us over here that if you disagree with us or if you don't walk with us, something's wrong with you. No.
That's what happened to your husband.
If you don't laugh with us at Dame Dash, something's wrong with you. No. Even if I believe Dame Dash is broke and he's not the person to take business advice from, and I may not want to take business advice from Dame, but that don't mean I gotta call him broke 100 times on my public platform. That don't mean I gotta invite him to my platform in hopes of shaming him and putting him in his place. See, a lot of times what our problem is as people in general is we think God sent us to be the ones to humble everybody. You think you gotta humble people. You think people gotta be humble before you. People only gotta be humble before God. And the Bible clearly states, man looks at the outward appearance, God looks at the heart. I can't tell you if Dame Dash is arrogant or humble or not. He seems to be arrogant to me, but God looks at the heart. So we think that we've been sent personally by God to humble a person. You're nobody, just like everybody else, bro. I'm not nobody, you not nobody. Everybody is special, nobody is important. It's not nobody's job to humble another grown man or grown woman. It's not your job. Let's get back to this clip and hear some more of what Dame is saying, because I think what he's saying is very important, and I don't want to lose that. So let's get back to this clip.
Your bricks and they die and you don't own no more. It's like getting hit by the cartel with 100 bricks
Let me rewind it a
and
little
they
bit.
die. You know what are you talking about? Oh, you paid it all off? When you have this bankruptcy 7 is like getting hit by the cartel with 100 bricks and they die and you don't own no more. I want you to ask someone this is what you should do.
That's a great analogy.
Do something smart. Get a specialist, a lawyer in bankruptcy, and you ask them these questions. Get a professional up here, and then they'll tell you. Why ask me? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then
I'll answer that. Why ask Dane? Why not get a bankruptcy professional? Because that's too, like my mama used to say, that's too much like right. That would be the right thing to do. Let's get a bankruptcy professional up here and give everybody some education on bankruptcy. No, we can't do that because that makes Dane look like he's justified. If we did something like that, they're not gonna do that. No, we just doing this for entertainment, bro. We're not actually doing this to help nobody. You got us confused, Dane, with the platform that actually cares about people progressing. No, we just want people to agree with us and do what we say and worship us. That's why they don't do that. And that was a great analogy. The cartel analogy, that was actually a pretty good analogy.
Then when he tells you you're dumb, you'll believe him. Anyway, the difference between you and I don't think you're a proper representation of the masculine black man. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you guys are.
I'm listening.
Okay. Like, your OG is Wendy Williams. My OG is sitting right here. You see him? Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell you why he's my OG. Because he killed anybody or any of those things. He just taught me how to be a better man.
Wendy,
can you stop? Can you stop?
Wendy Williams is your OG.
Wasn't she your boss?
Yeah, at one point.
So she was your OG. She put you on, and you should give her grace.
Have some respect.
And you should also give her props out of respect.
Oh,
because we have different trauma. Mm-hmm. Like, we're different. Like, I'm not the kind of guy that would, like, I'd rather get my ass whipped than run. But you're proud that you ran.
Yeah.
I'd rather get my ass whipped. Let me ask you a question, Dan. You ever ran from a fight?
Yep.
Never.
What would happen if y'all heard that I ran from a fight?
Never. Somebody said Dame only got rich because the foundation of his wealth came from drug money. I made money from the destruction of black people. Knock it off. The Bible says, as a child, I thought as a child. I spake as a child. I understood as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Everybody has done something wrong in their life. You stole $20 from your mama at some point. I'm talking to you. You've stolen hours from your job. Oh, you only got your bills paid because you was at work, acting like you was working, but you actually wasn't working. You could have clocked out. That's stealing. You could have clocked out. Everybody has done something, bro. Everybody. But it's not what you do, it's what you do about it. As a child, I thought as a child. I understood as a child, spake as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. You could judge him for that. I could judge you as an employer, somebody that has a staff. I could judge you for being the type of guy that you go to work and you take overtime hours just because you ain't nobody gonna be watching you in overtime. So you just taking extra hours. That's stealing money, bro. You only got your bills paid because you stole money. You took that money from some other employee that could actually needed the hours. Come on, bro. Like my grandmother used to say, ain't no little sin or big sin. Everybody done something. So I don't even want to hear. That's just. And so what? If he's done 100 things to try to make the situation look. Dame Dash, for the people that he's inspired, for the things, the way God used. Do you realize God used murderers? Noah from Noah's Ark in the Bible. Noah was a drunk. Moses was a murderer. Read it. God can use anybody, bro. This is why the Bible says God is no respecter of person. It don't matter what you did. It don't matter. Anybody could be a benefit. So I don't want to hear that. You know, there was one more clip that I want to break down before we go from Dane, where he was actually talking about some business. And I thought it was important for our people to know, for people to know in general. It's a financial literacy thing. And he started going into some business terms. And I think it's important for people to know this because a lot of times people don't understand how business works. And Dame says some things that I know to be true. So, let's check it out.
The last time I was behind, it was $1 million. I paid it. That sounds broke to you? If all my children, and I pay their colleges up front, they don't have debt, meaning they don't have to go on, that sounds broke to you? Every one of my baby mothers has 2 or 3 houses. That sounds broke to you? It's not about me. If you Google her family, or certain people I know, I'll Google them, they have no money. I Google the family office, $10 billion.
Very true.
Rich people don't put anything in their name, but you don't know that. You don't know that. And I feel sorry for you because you don't get to see the daylight. You missed your whole, last time I was by.
What he said there was very true. At a certain level of money, you put things in the LLC. You have that LLC that's owned, or an S Corp, whatever one. I have an S Corp. You have your LLC that's owned by another LLC. That LLC is owned by another LLC. I'm about to expose something to you guys, actually. And then those LLCs are all owned by a trust. And then the trust is owned by a board where multiple people own it. So it never comes back to one person. And that way you keep all the wealth in the family, right? So like, let's say you have a house. Let's say you own a house. And what a lot of people don't do, the mistake that they make is you leave the house in your name. And then when something happened to you or you pass away, then the whole family, all your kids arguing about what should we do with the house. When you would be better off, first of all, if it's a rental property, putting it in an LLC so you're protected from lawsuits and different things like that if you're going to rent it to somebody. Because if they slip on the front porch and break their hip, they're going to say that you didn't properly maintain the front porch, and so LLCs protect from those type of lawsuits. But then putting it in a trust in order for you guys for your kids to not argue over. There is nothing to argue over. Everybody has to sign off before this house is signed. If one person don't want to sign, bottom line, it's not going nowhere. So a lot of rich people we put our assets inside of other assets. You get what I'm saying? And also it's another great way. Trusts are great because I can put multiple assets in there, and then the value of the trust is something I can go get, that I can leverage in business to get loans, take loans against it, which is what a lot of rich people do. And Dame is right. But the bigger thing is, inheritance is so biblical. The scriptures say that a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. But the wicked's wealth is stored up for the righteous. And leaving an inheritance and saying, hey, if Dame Dash dies, we all gonna die. If Dame dies and says, you know what, I died with no money in my account, but my kids' moms got 3 houses. My kids got all their college paid off. They debt free. They get to walk out of college without that Sally Mae Grim Reaper walking behind them. My kids get to go and invest in his kids have businesses. They get to go and invest in their businesses free, but I'm in debt, according to everybody. Is that a win or is that a loss as a man? I think that's a win. As a man, as a father, as a husband, I think that's a win. If my wife got 2-3 houses and my net worth isn't publicly, if you see, we get so caught up in the public praising us that we forget about the real things. And that's the nigga agenda too. That's part of the nigga agenda. It don't matter what's really going on, no matter what the public think of you. We have a real problem in our community with the over glorification of image. Everybody thinks that they're supposed to have this big image, and we all guilty of it. When I first started making money, every time I get something new, I take it back to the hood and show everybody. Because I wanted people to feel like, look, I came from here and I'm doing it, I'm making it. Do y'all appreciate it? Do y'all acknowledge that? Y'all see? And one thing that I learned, my pops taught me this, and this is when I was young. I started making money early. And when I was younger, my pops was like, hey man, after they see you in the car, it's not special anymore. It's just your car. That's just Will's car. So you better make sure that you buying stuff because you want it and you enjoy it and because it's something that you actually want, not because it's something you want to be seen in or seen with. And in this Dame Dash interview, right, they can't even fathom, Charlamagne and them can't even fathom Dame being comfortable with them thinking that he's broke. That's why they keep going to it. Because in the nigga agenda, they want you to be so programmed to care what we think that everything, your emotion, your actions, everything is dictated by how we think about you. So I'm gonna keep calling you broke to see if it triggers you. Because we want people to not feel like it's okay. Bro, half of you, we all done been broke. Let's stop playing games. Let's stop playing games, for real. How many of us, I don't care how much money you make, all of us have been broke. Right or wrong? Right or wrong? Why are we pretending like it can't happen? That can't happen to anybody, bro. You put enough money into, you go buy the right thing. And is any entrepreneurs in the chat? Any? Because if you're an entrepreneur and you don't know what it's like to be broke, you're not an entrepreneur. That's a fact. Entrepreneurship is all on you. The ups, the downs of it. Some of y'all in the chat, bro, I'm broke now. You feel me?
You still got that gas app?
Why do we get online and pretend like this? Like,
probably getting the gas card, the one I be using. You downloaded it yet?
Why do people get online and pretend like real life ain't real life? And it's like the image of things. Nobody's up 100% of the time. Nobody.
Yeah,
I don't care who you
look
are.
ahead for us.
And that shouldn't be something that should be shamed, bro. It's just money. My pops taught me. Never forget, man. I was 26 years old. I was talking to my dad. I made some money. And I was considering spending a large sum of money on something. And I was like, dang, Dad, I want to do it. But if I do it, you know, I'm going to have to be hustling. I'm going to have to hustle it all back.
75.
And my dad was like, hey,
but we headed
it's
in
just
a westerly direction, but I don't need
told
no
me just
gas
like that.
right now.
He was like, hey, it's just money.
I would
you spend
say
it, you go make some more. I'm not saying be foolish about it, but
in the next
it's just
hour
money.
and a half or so, I will be.
Sometimes we get so caught up, we worship, like the love of money is the root of all evil. That's what the scripture says. The love of money is the root of all evil.
I'm not burning
so
no
true.
gas driving. So.
Oh, excuse me, all kinds of evil, it says.
So I got another
the
hour.
root of all kinds of evil. Meaning people think and do all kinds of evil things when they love money. And it's like silly to me for us to sit here and pretend like we don't know what it's like to be broke. And it's funny, ha ha ha, Dame Dash is broke, ha ha ha. Charlamagne, you've been broke before. Was it funny when you were broke? No, man. And people think, like, people think their Instagram is their real life. Bro, go touch grass. And I never laugh at the calamity of others because I'm very aware, acutely aware, it could be me at any moment. At any moment. If I'm not saying something to benefit somebody, or if I'm not doing something to help somebody or lift somebody up, I'm not doing it. I'm never gonna try to do something to tear nobody down. Ever. If I can help it. Because it's not necessary. How does that build me? See, a lot of people, they make their building look tall by knocking down everybody else's buildings. Just go build a bigger building. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. And I think that part of the nigga agenda and the niggification of society is to live in a fantasy world where everything is perfect all the time. And we got to portray that to the public, no matter what's going on behind the scenes. You know what people need to see? Hey, bro, when you invest, I invested, bro, I could tell y'all some entrepreneur horror stories, man. I really could. You know how much money I invested in my business last year that I didn't get a return on? And I'm still kind of like, dang, that sucks. I could have, if I'd have used that money, I would have did this. It happens. If there's any entrepreneurs in the chat, you guys know what I'm talking about. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a roller coaster. You'll make $100,000 this month and you'll make nothing next month. Oh man, entrepreneurship increase your faith in God like nothing else. I promise you it will. If God can't get through to you, entrepreneurship will. You want to get faith, you want to increase your faith, become an entrepreneur. Because you're going to be relying on God every single month. I promise you. And when it works, you're more relieved than you are happy. In business, when you become an entrepreneur, when it works, people be like, man, that's dope. They see all the highlights. They don't see you up at 2 o'clock in the morning trying to figure it out. When it works, it feels like relief, not success and joy. You feel like, thank God it finally worked. Because I was about to go back to the job. So we got to stop pretending like it only happens to Dame Dash. No, it's just happening at a bigger scale with Dame Dash. And it's public because Dame Dash put Jay-Z on. So we going, how could Jay be that far up and Dame be that far down? It's just a compare and contrast situation. But in reality, Dame is having the starter pack entrepreneur experience in America. It's an ebb and flow, bro. It's an up and down. And we got to stop pretending like being an entrepreneur is glamorous. See, the internet then messed that mindset up too. Being an entrepreneur is not glamorous. It's not. It's stressful. It's hard. I don't recommend it. As a lifelong entrepreneur, somebody that I always wanted to be a businessman since I was a little boy. And it took me 10 years to really get to this space, 11 years to really get to this space. I'm telling you, it's not for everybody. The responsibility that's on your shoulders, I tell people, go get a job, bro. Go get a good job. Work for somebody that's really good to you. Because it's no responsibility for real. You think it's responsibility, but it's really not. You got one part. See, this is a great lesson for you guys in business. Your job, never despise your job. Your job is your first business partner. If you are an entrepreneur, that's the first business partner you're gonna have. That job is gonna make the investment in the business. So when you get your paycheck, after you pay your bills, that little bit of extra that you got, when you invest that into your business as an entrepreneur, that's your first business partner, right? And you should never despise a job, ever. And if you're not an entrepreneur, you're still an entrepreneur. And let me tell you why. Because everybody is self-employed. Some of us only have one client, and our client is our job. Your job is the only client you have. You're still self-employed because they could fire you at any moment. You could quit at any moment, right? You may feel a sense of security from being an employee. Nothing wrong with that. But understand, you're still self-employed. You're providing a good, a product, or a service. Typically in employment, you're just providing a service. You're in the service business. You're providing a service for one client, which is that employer, and you're solving a problem for them. All business, what business is God's formal entity for serving people. That's all business is. So I serve people with products and services, solutions for their problems, right? And if you work a job, you're providing a solution for a singular problem that company has. They may need somebody to do billing. They may need somebody to work behind his desk. They may need somebody to go out there and dig the holes. They may need somebody to do the heavy lifting. So you're providing that service as an employer. You're still self-employed. You just only got one client. When you become an entrepreneur, you're self-employed, but you're seeking more clients. That's all it is. It's the only difference. Everybody is in the same boat. We all serving. I hire people to serve other people. I got to serve my clients. I got to serve my customers. So I hire people and I run the business with that goal in mind. It's no different than working a job. The only difference is as an entrepreneur, it's a lot more responsibility, and you're the person responsible for paying everybody. You're the person responsible for taking care of the infrastructure, the ideas, the communication. There's 4 levels of value. Myron Golden's that I learned this from Myron Golden, and I think he's on point when he says this: implementation, unification, communication, and imagination. That's the 4 levels of value in generating income. And a lot of people stop at the implementation level. I just want to be able to go in and just do my job and go home. And then you get to the unification level, that's where you get shift leaders and managers. They just bring people together. The communicator is the one that communicates the vision to everybody. The Imagineer, is the one that creates the vision and gives it to the communicator. The communicator communicates it to the unifier. The unifier brings everybody together, all the implementers, and the implementers get the job done. Everybody's part of the same system.
$3.99. Submit. 286. Activate. View. Time to go get it.
It's nothing but a puddle here. Here.
Game, and this is one that everybody can join in on. Okay, it doesn't matter how old or young you are. I want you to grab your cell phone and I want you to go to your text messages and search for... All right, you guys, let's actually start today's episode with a game. I mean, the feds like to play games. Let's play a game. And this is one that everybody can join in on, okay? It doesn't matter how old or young you are. I want you to grab your cell phone and I want you to go to your text messages and search for certain terms, okay, that you just use when you speak to your friends. Terms that were just casually tossed into a conversation, the alleged conversation held between the 22-year-old alleged killer of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, and his 22-year-old boyfriend, Lance Twiggs, okay? The first term I want you to search is retrieve. Yeah, let's look it up. When is the last time that you used the word retrieve between you and a friend? Retrieve. I'm going to retrieve something. I played this game with my entire staff, and I was able to find, since dating back for the last 3 years, 2 messages where someone used that term. The first person was somebody that was former military, and the second person was a cop. Makes sense. Okay, we're not done playing this game. Second term that I want you to look for in your phone is vehicle. Vehicle. Well, I mean, what pops up for you? Is that something that you say? I'm just going to go outside to my vehicle. I left something in my vehicle. I'll be right back. I parked my vehicle outside. I don't remember where I parked my vehicle. What's popping up for you? Oh, probably literally nothing. Maybe something related to the DMV. That's what came up for me. Things about the DMV. I think for Skylar, something came up for his car wash. Your vehicle is ready. Sounds pretty professional. I don't know what to tell you guys, though, because what they're telling us is that is just the way the 22-year-olds are speaking these days. Apparently, they just shoot the breeze with one another, and they say vehicle and retrieve. And if you don't believe me, then good. You shouldn't believe that. You shouldn't believe me when I say that. So welcome back to Candace. How stupid the feds believe that we are. And the frankly obnoxious messages that someone strung together must clearly be for either our or their own entertainment. So I want to hyper-focus on those. I want to actually hyper-focus on what exactly is wrong with these text messages between Lance and Tyler. Now, first and foremost, the obvious thing, there's no timestamps. Right away, major red flag. Very easy to say, he sent the first message at this time. It's a part of your investigation, right? Everybody is on edge globally wanting to know what happened. They just remove that. But don't worry, you guys, because like I told you, one of the things that me and Charlie always believed in was that we could work harder. And I gotta tell you, these devils are working pretty hard, but we can work harder than them, okay? And I decided to go back and, on the basis of what Tyler Robinson allegedly writes to his lover, I decided I could work them into the timeline. I could work out an approximate timeline, at least, for us to look at visually for when they had to have been sent on the basis of what he's saying, right? Because he says certain things that were not revealed to the public at a certain time, so we're going to do that. I also want to point out the fact that the language, which many people said online, somebody actually left a very funny comment. It's like borderline poetic. He's got commas in there. It's like perfect English. And that's actually a striking contrast compared to what's inscribed on the casings, right? He goes through all of these memes that he's written, and I'm not hip to the lingo. Okay, you got to be real deep internet and hip, but for whatever reason, when he's writing these messages, he's very proper, extremely proper, right? What really wants to make sure he gets the punctuation correct. Anyways, let's just dive right back into the timeline. Let's dive right back into this conversation. And we're at first going to focus on the third message. And don't forget just to lead up into this. They are telling us that at no time that we're allowed to know on September 10th, after Charlie Kirk was shot, the roommate, that's Lance, received a text message from Robinson, which said, "Drop what you are doing, look under my keyboard." And so Lance, I don't know what he does all day, but he can do that. He knows he's home. And Lance then runs, I'm saying he ran, prances, who knows, and looks, and he sees this note. And to be clear, we're never going to be able to see that note because the feds have since told us that the note was destroyed. But even though he destroyed the note, he took a picture of it. Yeah, that makes sense, because if you're going to destroy something, the best thing to do is to take a picture of it. And the feds saw the picture, but we're not going to be able to see either. Anyways, don't think about it if you want it to make sense. Then we find out that Lance, I guess, decided to take a picture and then text Tyler back. And here is where he asks him, Lance says, "Tyler, what? You're joking, right?" This, the note said, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. So Lance is like, what? You're joking. And Robinson says to him, Tyler says, I'm still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem, that's the town, okay, that UVU is at, for a little while longer yet. So poetic. A little while longer yet. I'm gonna look that up on my phone later. It shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. Now, I want to jump to this next message because it gives us a timeline. He says to him, I assume right away, Lance says, you weren't the one who did it, right? And Robinson says, I am, I'm sorry. And the roommate says, I thought they caught the person. Okay. And Robinson responds, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down.
It says drop point.
It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Okay, so that lets us actually be able to drop that into the timeline pretty simply. Why? Because we know, and we can pull up this timeline, that they at first thought it was George Zinn, so that's who he's referencing, some crazy old dude. And on the timeline, Skylar, if you want to pull that up so we can go through it, what time Charlie gets shot at 12:23 p.m. Scroll down a bit. George Zinn, we learn about 30 minutes after that, George Zinn, the decoy boy, that's when it's announced that he's a suspect in custody by the Utah police. But it's not until, by the way, 5:30 p.m., because he mentions that second suspect, and he curiously says in that correspondence that he's wearing similar clothing, which I find to be strange. We don't know what that second suspect is wearing until 5:30 p.m. When Governor Cox, 12 minutes into a press conference, the press conference began at 5:30 p.m., mentions that the second suspect, who is a person of interest, is wearing all dark clothing. So the earliest that message could have been sent out is after 5:30 p.m. I think it's unlikely because I think, again, this is all made up, these messages, because he says wearing similar clothing. Okay, he tells us dark clothing. What's similar about that? This guy allegedly, when he did this, was wearing black jeans. Dark jeans and a black shirt. So that's like everyone on campus, okay? Nobody in the press conference says, we picked him up because he was wearing something similar to the shooter. So that language right there is actually a mistake from the feds. But again, it allows us to be able to plot it into the timeline. So that's good. Okay. Timeline is back up here. And we then know Kash Patel tweets that the subject in custody has been released. Our investigation continues. That was a mistake. The guy in the darker clothing, we don't know who that is. And then it's after, again, like I said, that these correspondences then had to take place. So we're talking about late in the evening, okay, 6 hours on. I'm wondering what it is that Tyler Robinson is doing throughout this entire time. Skylar, you can keep this up because I want to keep scrolling, okay? What he's doing throughout this entire time, because that's a very long time for him to be just around campus. But then luckily, he's going to let us know what he's doing, right? He's going to jump right in here and he's telling us that he's close to the scene. We know in this conversation that he then says to Lance that he's looking to get that rifle, right? He says, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring it back. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's actually go earlier. He then tells us his alibi, which is amazing, right? He's saying, I'm lingering around there. I'm trying to get the vehicle. And then, of course, as you always do when you're trying to clean up things, you then spell out your alibi, right? Lance asks him, why did you do this? And Robinson says, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate cannot be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, like I'm trying to clean up the scene, but also I'm telling you exactly what my motive is here, I will have left no evidence. I'm going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Okay, so we are now late in the evening. He's still hanging around. The roommate then comes and says, how long have you been planning this? He says, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, still trying to get close to that rifle. So I'm wondering if maybe the feds might drop us some footage. right? We should be able to see some footage. He's got to be idling in his car. You've been speaking about how he has this car. I'm assuming he's not just sitting in the woods or sitting on a sidewalk. This is a quote unquote manhunt. So where is he casually sitting, lingering, loitering? I don't know, but that would be some pretty good footage that they could release if they don't want us all to become a conspiracy theorist, okay? He then says, yeah, I've been planning this for a bit over a week. I can get really close to it, but there's a squad car that's parked right by it. That's the drop-off spot. I think they already swept the spot, but I don't want to chance it. And then he tells Lance that I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. Yeah, that's a vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I went to exactly where I got this rifle from, okay? I don't know. I don't even know if it had a serial number. Weird, because he's been planning this for a week. He might have checked. Now all of a sudden he's getting in the details and is wondering if it had a serial number. That seems a little strange to me. But it wouldn't trace to me. Of course, because you just told us in writing that it's your grandpa's. Definitely trying to cover your tracks. I worry about Prince. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Okay, we're going to get to that. Focus on the changing outfits. That's a really important piece of this, and that is why I am now a confirmed conspiracy theorist on this, okay? I left it in the bush where I changed outfits, okay? I didn't have the ability or the time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope that they don't find Prince. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. That's the only thing. Otherwise, it was a perfect job. It was top of the line, professional job. The only thing I left behind was the weapon with my prints on it. Oh my gosh, right? Like that's kind of amazing. Okay. Then he, of course, explained, remember how I was engraving the bullets? The effing messages are mostly a big meme. I know I speak proper here, but it's just a meme that I was writing. I wrote, notice his bulge. On Fox News, I might have a stroke if they say that, right? If I see notice his bulge on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it. Oh, that really often sucks. It's almost perfect. Okay, so he then ends this message. This is all from the day. This is all we have from September 10th, okay? Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun. I want to make it very clear. This is Grandpa's gun, okay? Nobody should question this narrative because he has put it all here. I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Okay, so that ends that exchange. Now, I have a couple of notes here that I put here at the end of day one as we worked in this correspondence, which all had to happen, let's call it 7 p.m. earliest, as I say here, which I want to be clear. The campus is 3 to 4 hours away from where Tyler and Lance live together. We have a map here to show you that. So he's just loitering until, like I said, earliest. He's signifying around like 7 p.m. that he's still very close to campus. That's a long day. That's a real long day, just waiting to see when you can go in there. And there's a manhunt, and he's chill. He's chill because he's changed his outfit. How do we know he changed his outfit? Because he made it very clear that he dropped the clothes, his shooting clothes, right there. He got changed. He didn't have time to take the rifle that was in the that he put in the towel, but he did have time to change. That totally makes sense. And then for whatever reason, he had to leave the rifle with the prints on it. Okay. What's interesting about that, though, is we should recognize that, curiously, what they've removed from this indictment, again, relevant to the clothes, was the fact that, and the governor's going to say it, that we are told that he at first enters campus on this day at 8:07 a.m. TMZ shows us the footage, remember, of the man wearing a maroon t-shirt and shorts, that's how this day begins, that is walking through a neighborhood just outside of university grounds. The Governor Cox has confirmed this is him. Not mentioned in the indictment. That's curious. Seems very relevant. Surely, you guys should be mentioning that. The outfit, what did he do, by the way? From 8:07 a.m. when he walked onto campus to when he is then seen walking back onto campus at 11:51, that's about 4 hours. Something else the feds could release to dispel any conspiracy theories would be him walking back to his car. But you're telling us he then goes back to campus and he's in a different outfit. Can we get him leaving campus? We know the place is covered. with cameras. That would make me feel better. If you showed us him leaving campus and then we see him coming back in a different outfit, again, not clear why he couldn't just wear the outfit he was going to wear, since I would imagine you've got thousands and thousands of students that are wearing something as casual as a black t-shirt and blue jeans. I understand a need for a change if you're in, like, you know, a sniper outfit, or if you're wearing, like, I don't know, a Barney costume. You know, if you showed up and you're wearing like a full Halloween costume, then yeah, maybe you should change. But this is just an average college kid outfit. You know, this is just what you expect to see on campus. It's just what boys wear. Anyways, like I said, those would be my points from day one. The feds can release that. And also, I'm wondering, where did Tyler spend the night? Can they clarify that? Where he certainly couldn't have made it out of Iran and back there and back to his home. I'm coming home soon. Would have been the wee hours of the morning. This would have been a good time, by the way, if you're really trying to get away with this, to tell your lover to delete the text messages. He doesn't do that. He's not going to tell him to delete the text messages on this night. Presumably he saw him. They didn't say he went home to his parents' house. So what happened overnight? When did he get home? He's been so thorough in describing that cleanup job. And by the way, we know that Discord is going to later say that those messages were not coordinated on their server, which I would say was definitely a part of the broader plan. Okay, let's get into September 11th, because a lot happens here, and you are going to really see what I see here, and we need to demand answers. Okay, so on September 11th, we are presented with the first FBI press conference where they confirm that they have found a weapon in the woods. Let's take a listen to a bit of that.
This morning I can tell you that we have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. So the FBI laboratory will be analyzing this weapon.
Now, I wouldn't say the shooter had fled, just based off of he was just kind of lurking around, ringing to go get his weapon back, okay, like for a long time, but whatever, let's go with that. Then what we have after that 7 a.m. press conference is that exclusively our resident guys over at the New York Post, every exclusive ever, Jeffrey Epstein's death pictures, Ghislaine Maxwell found at an In-N-Out. It's always the New York Post, okay? I view them as a feds. If I'm the feds and I'm trying to make this seem like this is organic, I wouldn't give it to the New York Post, because we're in Utah, and so cops are probably not leaking to a New York-based publication. But whatever, they have the exclusive. They're the ones that reveal the photo. They always have the exclusive, okay? And they show us the gun in the shooting. Their article publishes at, and by the way, my timeline is all based in Mountain Time, so that says 11:21 a.m. Eastern. They publish at 9:21 a.m., 2 hours after that first press conference, and say exclusive. They are the ones that drop the trans narrative. They say these things are found on the bullets, okay? And then just 7 minutes later, the FBI, Salt Lake City, drops static images of the alleged shooter walking up the stairs, okay? So now we can see on our timeline, that's around 10 a.m. in the morning, Salt Lake City time, Mountain Time. So we can then assume that everything else that's about to happen that I'm going to tell you had to have happened, okay, between approximately 10:30 and 7 o'clock p.m., okay? I have a source, and everything the source has told me that has happened when we were lied to publicly has proven to be correct. So I am very inclined to believe this source on a couple of other things. And when I speak also to Lance's family, they are confirming what this source is telling me. So we're going to go through this 10:30 a.m. to 7 p.m., all of the things that then took place. So they released the photo, and then we are told, as my source initially told me, that it was the mother who recognized Tyler, and she phones him up. Tyler says, "Mom, I'm sick." She doesn't believe it. She loops in Dad, okay? Dad then texts and he calls Tyler. And at this point, we can jump back into day 2 of our messages, because Robinson says to Lance, "Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says, Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now. I'm not answering." Okay, so apparently he did answer. According to the indictment, the dad says he didn't answer his text messages. Then the father called him, and Tyler Robinson answered, and he tells us that Tyler was suicidal, and that is when they just told him, like, calm down, let's speak to you. They bring over their neighbor sheriff friend, and they agree that he should go in. Now, if he was in fact suicidal, you don't get that vibe from these messages to his lover, right? There's nothing in here that he's like, I can't believe what I've done. Now he slept, we don't know where. He seems to be perhaps on very little sleep. I would imagine he just murdered someone. And he's not indicating in these messages that he's going through any sort of suicidal feelings. Instead, he sends this very odd thing about his dad, who he says he's not answering. He writes, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty die-hard MAGA. There's something here for everyone if you want to take the low-hanging fruit and think of this as left versus right? So if you're like, on the right, you're like, I need to blame the left, then it's like, whoa, the trans thing is here. But if you're on the left and you need to blame the right, well, dad was a die-hard MAGA. It's like, it's so fed. It's just so federally written. It's amazing. So chaos right here. Anyways, I guess maybe if you're suicidal, that's what you sent. Dad's been pretty diehard MAGA. And then we don't know, again, when these messages took place, but it all had to happen in these 7 or 8 hours. He says, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors is here. He is deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. He seems impassioned here. He doesn't seem suicidal. And then Lance comes back and says, I'm much more worried about you. And Robinson says, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments, because the feds want to let you know why it is that we're not talking to Lance, right? They got to tell you. Because Tyler told him, duh. You're going, wow, if Lance is really not guilty and he hasn't done anything, this would be a good time to speak, right? No, Lance is not doing that, because Tyler right here says, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. And if any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. So that's how it happens. And I want to tell you that we can jump back into the timeline here. Our source informs us that it was around 7 o'clock p.m. when everybody locally began receiving the text messages that Tyler Robinson was in custody and that they were going to pick him up in Warner Valley. Now, Warner Valley is right next to St. George. So he lives very close to his parents, is what I want you to recognize. You've got St. George, you've got Warner Valley. So they said like that's where they went to go pick him up. That could very much be his parents' place. But what's really interesting about that, okay, if you consider that they are telling us at 7 p.m. that this is when all the messages started circulating, then we don't know why the feds say that it was the 33rd hour after the shooting, like a total Freemason. 33rd hour after the shooting. It took us 33 hours. That would be inaccurate, okay? 33 hours would be at 9:23 p.m. Our person is telling us, and I tend to believe them, that everyone knew at 7 o'clock p.m., okay? And what they tell us took place thereafter, and this is what I confirmed with Lance's family, because I said, wait a second, you owned the house. When did they pick up Lance? When did Lance go in? When did the home that you own get raided by the feds? Did the home that you own get raided by the feds? And what that family is telling me, and what my source is telling me, it's matching, okay? So I'm feeling good about this. We'll say allegedly, but I'm feeling good about this, okay? So Tyler is allegedly in custody, and they are told, don't say, don't speak, don't do anything. The feds, you have to wait for the feds to get there to question Tyler. And that didn't happen until the wee hours of the morning. How do we know? Because we're going to hear that from Governor Cox the following morning. Anyways, but apparently what happens is then they bring Lance in at 11 p.m.-ish. We'll tell you around 11 p.m. Lance Twiggs is brought in for questioning, okay? And shortly thereafter, that apartment is raided. And I say overnight into the wee hours of the morning is when they first raid Tyler and Lance's apartment. Now, why am I really stressing this out to you? I'm stressing this point to you here. Because this would signal to you that it would be absolute BS if the feds are going to tell us bright and early the next morning that the case is closed? They would know nothing. According to Lance's family, this is when they seized his electronics. They say that he's deep on the internet web, that there's definitely going to be something there. And yet they told us that, quite oddly, Lance gets released right back to his parents. Right, not right back. Lance just gets released to his parents while they're raiding his apartment. Why would they release Lance? Wouldn't you think that you would be detained like for at least 24 hours? Right? If we're putting this at around 11 p.m.-ish, that they have brought him in and they are questioning him and they are now moving to raid his apartment in the wee hours in the morning, why would they very quickly release him? And beyond that, I'm going to let you know, let's jump into Friday on the timeline. Like I said, early hours, Tyler and Lance have their apartment raided and the devices seized. For whatever reason, the FBI quickly releases Lance. And I'm told that he is dropped off at his parents' home, allegedly. And then it's at 6 a.m. that President Trump announces with a high degree of certainty that they have the suspect, okay? So are they still raiding his place? I don't know, but take a listen to Trump on Fox and Friends.
Any updates on the suspect?
Yeah. Can I always say, I think, just to protect us all, and so Fox doesn't get sued, and we all don't get sued, and everything else, but I think with a high degree of certainty, we have him. In custody, okay? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job.
Okay, and here is what the governor is then 2 hours later is when his press conference began. I'm going to do the short clip. Okay, let's play actually a little bit of the longer clip, Skylar. I'll tell you when to come out of it. It's a 6-minute long clip, and you should go back and watch it in its entirety. He's going to make it seem like, Lance doesn't even exist. But let's start it off and listen to a minute of this, and then I'll give the synopsis.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images.
Okay, stop. That's actually a perfect place to stop right there. My source says he's lying. I don't like Governor Cox. Vibes. Okay, vibes. I don't know, can't explain it. I'm getting tons of people that are messaging me telling me he's corrupt, that he forced himself onto the ballot, that he wasn't even supposed to be the governor. Allegedly. I just don't like him. Every time we find an inconsistency, I actually find him to be the mouthpiece of it, okay? So he is representing, and my source says falsely, that they picked up Tyler Robinson, and by the way, it makes perfect sense that my source is saying that that's not accurate, in the same outfits that we just showed you, okay, of the maroon thing that happens at 8 o'clock. We don't know what he was doing for 4 hours on campus, but he's telling us that for 33 hours, he decided that he was going to keep the outfit on. Now, remember, I told you that Tyler Robinson's classmate reached out, and they insisted that this was an incredibly odd thing because he was very tidy. He was very clean, and they said that's the first thing that they went, that just sounds weird. He was a very tidy dude. Now I'm telling you that my source is saying he wasn't wearing that outfit when he got picked up. He wasn't wearing that outfit when he was brought to the office. If I have this wrong, this would be a very easy thing, okay? Surely they're gonna have photos. They've got something for them to release. It's like, yeah, no, we totally got him. I wanna be clear, if you are in the police station and you want to reach out and let me know more, tips@candaceowens.com, because I'm struck by this. This is what we should be hyper-focusing on. He kind of wraps it up and says he was wearing the same outfit. And that always sounded dumb to us Why would you not take a shower in 33 hours, okay? That doesn't make any sense to anybody whatsoever. And people are saying that fact is untrue, okay? Now, if that is untrue, let's first show you how he wraps this up. We might show you a portion of what he said again because we wanted to compress his 6-minute clip, but like listen to how he wraps up this conference too, because it's relevant.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. This is a very sad day for our country, a terrible day for the state of Utah. But I'm grateful that at this moment we have an opportunity to bring closure to this very dark chapter in our nation's history.
Closure. He says closure. We got him. They already start in that he starts talking about the messages. He starts filling in the blanks. He said he had it. He put it in a towel. We have messages. It's all over. We found it on Discord. Discord is going to say that's not true. So who made up these messages? When were these messages made up is the question. If Discord's saying they don't exist, this signals to me that these messages were just created, right? And I'm further feeling that way because there's no timestamps. Again, I want to be proven wrong, okay? But I don't like this at all. And we got him, it's over, and we can turn the page with finality. Would you, if you were an honest governor and you knew that only, again, 4 hours earlier? How long does it take to raid a home? I don't know, is it quick? Is it like a 10-minute thing? It feels like it'd be a long thing to grab the devices. If you knew that you had not even begun going through those devices, how would you say that we can close this chapter? Why would you say that we can close this chapter? I would have said, honestly, and he does not, we raided his home and we are looking for more information. We think that there's going to be a lot more information, but we wanted to let you know that we at least have one person that we feel is definitely involved. That's not what he says. He says it's over, it's done, wrap it up. We're not going to even tell you about the fact that we just raided this place a couple of hours ago. And the person whose place we raided, who is the one that the family says is super internet, we just kind of released. We weren't interested in that. What are we to discern from all of this? I'll tell you my take on this. I think the person in the maroon that's walking is different from the person that's walking up the stairs. It's a gut thing, okay? I don't know now, but I know, okay? I don't know now, but I know. It makes sense in the timeline of George Zinn, the decoy boy, that we've got other people that are doing different things, and they do not want us to prod the narrative about the person in maroon. It doesn't make sense. They can't tell us. He said he planned this for weeks. So I'm going to assume if he planned it for weeks and he didn't go to campus earlier because he wanted to scope things out, he would have done that. He would have obviously been able to do that already because he's been planning this for a week. He knew where Charlie was speaking, right? Make it make sense. It's very easy to debunk me. Very easy. You should have footage of him in that Dodge Challenger just waiting and salivating. He kept checking. He said, oh, here I am right here, just waiting to get that rifle back. I'm waiting to get that rifle back. Where's the footage? You were on a manhunt. Where is the footage? Surely during a manhunt you use drones. I feel like we are tech capable enough that during a manhunt after a murderer of a college student decides to take out Charlie Kirk, who has been a friend of the feds, right? I think probably not a good idea to be friends with these people, but whatever, he's been a friend of the feds. Surely this is a big issue. And to put to rest these conspiracies, you're gonna show us that drone footage and we're gonna see the Dodge Challenger just sitting there for hours and hours and hours. And we're maybe even gonna be able to see, because I'm sure at that point, like cops maybe set up some barricades or something to see he was going in and out. And then he decides he's going to leave. Show us the footage. Like I said, every inch of that campus is covered, so we should be able to see he's wearing maroon, and you're telling us that he went back to his car and he changed. Show us him leaving campus before he returns back to campus around 11:30. Just show us the footage, okay? I'm demanding it. You know why? Because I need to be able to fit things into my timeline, if that's okay with you. So I would discern that we are looking, just vibe again, 2 different people would be my thing. 2 different people. One of those individuals is definitely being protected. And separately, we can definitely make out that for whatever reason, Lance is being protected. There's no way you release that guy, okay? There's no way you release that guy immediately. There's no way that you intentionally purge him out of these messages, okay? The excuse, he's being cooperative, doesn't work. You can be cooperative while you're still being detained. At least 24 hours before you would say, I felt good to clear him as a suspect, especially when you haven't even raided his home yet. They released him instantly and they said, job done. So I would like more information about Lance Twiggs. Okay, I already don't like that mom received a Bachelor of Science from Stanford University in psychology. It seems to be a running theme in these Fed ops that there's always psychology somewhere in the family. And I want to be very clear, I'm not saying his mom has anything to do with anything, but I am saying that I feel this kid, for some reason, some unknown reason, is being protected. And I'm not the only one. His family feels that way, okay? His family thinks it's odd. Like I said yesterday, I spoke to them today, I spoke to them yesterday. They think it's odd that the feds moved on from him so quickly and that the feds were being dishonest, and they felt about everything when they first came out with information. So why are we all feeling that way? We absolutely need to get to the bottom of it. Let's take a quick break. I'm going to show you some stuff. I mean, Tucker completely